All right. I think so.
And you can turn it whatever way, like if you don't want this lip.
Okay.
I mean, wherever you want it.
I think this will work.
You need to be higher.
I think that's probably as high as we need it.
Okay. And I mean, keep your computer balanced so it'll hold it. So it's not bad.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah, this is. Yep. I hope.
Make sure the seat between us.
It's all kids today.
Actually, no, it's not. The other ones are short.
I'll tell you what, y'all sit one in between. Just.
Yeah.
And we're going Martin and Owens.
Okay. I'm good with that. Then everyone will remember yours. We won't. No, please. Same. Yeah. Okay. Did you write good morning. Staring directly at the mirror. No, like actually. I didn't need to know that.
Good morning. All right, good morning. We'll get started. And those obviously joining us in advisory room. Today we have two more senior speeches, so we'll get started with those. brought to us by two Kates. First, Kate Martin.
Good morning. The sweltering summer between 4th and 5th grade, I sat on my back porch with my older sister Bess and my babysitter Allie. On the chipped white wood porch floors, a game of Monopoly silently mocked me. I rolled 2 5s and winced while landing on Bess's Connecticut Avenue hotel, barely able to pay. Unfortunately, rolling doubles gave me another turn, and lacking pink or orange properties, I could only land on a community chest or chance. I sent up a silent prayer and shook the dice a lucky 7 times. The dice ominously spun, landing on 9. Bess broke out into a sickly sweet grin, and I counted the spaces to Tennessee Avenue. You landed on my property. Give me $950, Bess declared. I despairingly gazed over my pittance of 5s and 10s. Allie cautiously observed, knowing that the slightest escalation could cause a flipped game board. I don't have the money. Please let it slide, I tearily begged. 1 turn earlier, I owed more cash than Bess and Allie combined. How could it have fallen apart so fast? I'll give you a deal. You can mortgage your properties and pay me what you owe, or give me Boardwalk and Park Place, she gloated. I wouldn't recover from mortgaging my properties this late in the game, and I could only win with my dark blue properties. Ensnared in her trap, I threw the dark blue properties and stormed inside my house. My pride wounded, I decided to train my Monopoly skills by watching my sister play. I saw her manipulate the other players, pulling the strings with seemingly nonchalant or helpful comments. Watching Bess, I realized that winning required ruthless manipulation, and I carried this knowledge to games with my friends. 9th grade spring break, the black midday sky poured violent rain, bending trees. I sat at my kitchen table with my friends Britt, Sarah Coleman, and Caroline. The rain thwarted our original hiking plans, so the group played Monopoly instead. 30 minutes in, I needed Kentucky Avenue to build houses. Thunder rumbling, Britt rolled a 7 and landed on Kentucky Avenue. I'll buy it, Britt exclaimed slyly, knowing I wanted the property. How to best manipulate other players? She convinced them that the deal benefited both parties. I offered Britt $500 and no taxes on Kentucky Avenue in exchange for the property. This deal will help the both of us, I lied, using a sentence Bess had frequently used against me. I hid my excitement when Britt agreed, practically signing the game away. An hour later, my hopeless friends gazed into my delighted eyes. My hotels littered the board like landmines. Property lists, Britt and Caroline watched me and Sarah Coleman play. Cash dwindling, Coleman couldn't pay when she landed on my hotel. My mind immediately went back to Bess's lack of mercy years prior, which crushed my hope and ended the game. I love my sister, and I look up to her a great deal, but she failed to take into account the impact on other players with her perfect, ruthless Monopoly strategy. Caught up on learning to be the best, I didn't stop to think about how I ruined the game for my friends, like Bess did to me. My want to outdo others extends beyond Monopoly to academic success. Though I am happy for my friends' successes, my initial response is to think, what can I do to make me better than them? People in high-pressure environments, schools like Randolph, sports, or work environments, often put success over friendships, including me. Navigating life with a winning at all costs, competitive mentality makes you blind to the fallout of your actions. A resounding success drowns out the destruction that lies in its wake. But winning always has a consequence, and someone always loses. So when is winning not worth it? How can we win the right way? There's no cut and dry answer to these questions, but we must be aware of the impact of our actions on others. We cannot just focus on paving the path to success and discard those who are hurt by our actions. And when the amount of people hurt by our drive towards winning outweighs the benefits of success, we must decide whether winning is worth it. So when I looked across the Monopoly board and saw dejected stares, I knew that I let my competitiveness go too far. Instead of making Sarah Coleman pay, I looked out the window to see the sun, then back at Coleman. It looks like the rain stopped. We should go hiking now, I suggested. We cleaned up the Monopoly game as the rain clouds broke, put on our rain boots, and went hiking as the birds began to chirp again. Thank you.
Great job, thank you. And now, Kate Owens.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Who remembers middle school? Rained-off uniforms come to mind, faculty kickball games, house competitions, math with Miss Sandman. I think an event that perfectly encapsulates the middle school experience was my class's trip to Heifer International. For those of you who don't know, Heifer was our 7th grade trip to an Arkansas ranch, where our grade was divided into countries, the objective being teamwork. We were instructed to trade food, water, and cooking supplies, with the end goal being to make dinner for our respective groups. The team building focus was heavily stressed during the many collaborative exercises we had done in the days prior. But in typical middle school fashion, we completely ignored the fact that we were supposed to work together in favor of a real-time reenactment of Lord of the Flies. Let us say middle school was rough. But what do you remember about yourself in middle school? At 12 and 13 years old, we're beginning to become aware of ourselves and how we're perceived by others. We notice how adults and our older peers behave, and we try to emulate them. However, our poor imitation was to flock in exclusive cliques and all wear the exact same clothes, simultaneously trying to blend in and be memorable. I, for one, desperately wanted to be like the high school track girls. My thinking was that if I just waited until I was their age, I would magically turn pretty and talented and funny, anything but what I was. It's really sad to think about, honestly. I threw out my individuality to become what I thought would make me happy. I straightened my hair, I bought new shoes, I stopped reading books for fun. I realized that I have my hair straight today, left over from a dance this weekend. Some things are a work in progress. I trusted that I just had to wait to escape the psychological torment of being a middle schooler to become comfortable with myself. So my friends and I played Candy Crush during study hall instead of doing homework and waited. In a shocking development, there were no magical changes that occurred in the transition to high school, but I still found myself with a similar mindset, that once I get to college, then I will understand what's going on. I would finally be happy. But once I was in college, then what? What was I expecting? This cycle would have continued. As long as I was looking for something other than what I had, I would never find peace. Looking back, my mind is the same as it's always been, just with a little more patience, knowledge, and experience, maybe less patience. The life-changing transition I was expecting didn't come with age. This pattern of escapism, of ignoring reality in the present in order to live in a fantasy, I think is common. We see it in social media addiction, binge watching TV, and obsessing over celebrities. I think many of us are always stuck in a sort of transitory period where we wait and dream about the better things that await us. We strive to do anything but simply be present. During quarantine, the regular ebb and flow of time was not functioning as it normally does. For some of us, that period of time went by terribly slowly. We crawled and scraped our way through each day, waiting for our lives to return to normal. For others, quarantine went by at a blistering pace. Feels like only a month ago I was a sophomore learning the unit circle online with Ms. Santos, and now I'm a senior deriving equations. I think quarantine was revealing. By being forced to pause, we were also made to reflect on our use of time. It felt like the days consisted of yesterday, today, and tomorrow, nothing more. In this cycle, we weren't consumed with a desire for the future because we already knew what it would hold. Each day was broken down into simple decisions involving the here and now. We were, in a way, finally present, even if it was sort of awful. As an avid introvert, I personally enjoyed quarantine. My brother and I raised a flock of chickens. The two we couldn't tell apart we named Sam and Ella, like salmonella. I learned to play chess and I rediscovered my love for reading. I lounged around the house, did a couple paint by numbers, watched my mom in her multiple attempts to perfect sourdough bread, played my flute, and lounged some more. But soon enough, I was ready for time to resume. to see my friends, to be part of the world. I missed the active role I had, where I could choose where to go and what I did. In this pause, I learned that spending my life constantly in a state of transition, where I'm passively waiting for myself and my life to improve, is not how I want to spend any more of my time. I want to be present. I think part of us will be forever stuck in middle school, searching, yearning, and that's okay. Life is not a race, it is not linear, it's more of a dance. If we waste each day dormant, expecting a supposed better future, we will never be satisfied with what we have. But by choosing and actively controlling who we will be and where we will end up, we create our own futures. Being present, there is where you will discover yourself. Your time is yours to spend. Thank you.
Thank you both. Thank you. As we close today, I have a few announcements. One of the things as we've come back, even for the second semester from the break, obviously one thing that none of us really wanted to have to do, but we need to be able to do school in person, which again is something we've all wanted after that pause, is the mask, right? And so with mask, I understand it's a pain to bring every day. I understand that it's a pain to put it above your nose and over your mouth, but those are things we need to do in order to have in-person school. And it's something that none of us want to go back to. So one of the things with that we're running into is the line for masks at the front desk every morning. Bring your own mask. We're actually at a point where if we continue to use those masks up that we have in store, we'll have to send you home if you don't have a mask. That's not anything anybody wants to do. So bring your own mask from home. Keep it in your car. Bring it in when you come in. Also, this includes ball games. If you noticed the other night, we had a crowd with games. Came in, not everybody wore it. If we don't do that, right, and if we can't do that piece of wearing that mask during the game, we may be forced to reduce the number of students that we can let in a game. And that's not anything any of us want to do. In fact, I got word today that one of the SEC teams, at least, and probably more, are keeping students out of their games. That's not anything we want to do. We want to be able to have students. We want to be able to have fun. But we need to follow what we need to do. So please do that. I appreciate everyone working through lunches. Again, I think we worked through this, but seniors, if you have senior privileges, you absolutely can go off campus still, right? The lunches in classrooms are for those students on campus. If you have a free period, eat in the Commons Dining Hall or one of the other approved areas. And then finally, the day we get back next week following Mlk Day, we're actually moving towards Mlk Day of Service, which is the intent and the spirit behind the holiday. And so Tuesday that we return will be a day of service. We'll be going off campus with different service projects in our advisory groups out in the community for grades 10 through 12. You'll eat campus off lunch before returning. And so watch your campus messages for the schedule for that day. You'll be with your advisory group in a service project off campus. Freshmen, you will do service between our two campuses and then help with our 8th grade preview day, which is that same day. You'll also be learning a little bit about the Chicago trip as well. So with that, there'll be more information coming to that day of service. Also, just watch your campus messages there. This Thursday is actually, it's set aside for interim meetings. So your point person, the trip leader, will be sending information there for you to get Thursday instead of advisory. So with that, that's all we have. Seniors, you're dismissed. All right, everyone.